Hello everyone. Today we're gonna tie a fly that we have dubbed the Homewrecker. This is basically a fly that is intended to cause as much panic and as much response from the salmon and sea trout as possible. So this is one of the flies that I would recommend that you try if everything else fails. Basically, the fly that we tie here is not that difficult. It's fairly cheap in materials as well, but this is kind of a type pattern, so you can change this up in any different colors that you like the best. What this is and where the devil in the detail is these Kursk heads, which are going to be applied to the fly afterwards. So basically what you do is you take your leader when you're on the water, and then you have all the different colors and different sizes, 2 different sizes available and a lot of different colors of these Kursk heads. So you have the fly that is done, and then you take one of the heads here, and there is a hole inside this. Then you mount the leader inside the hole, and then basically just put the leader through the tube fly, and then you will be able to change the fly on the fly on the go, and you will be able to change how heavy this fly is, how fast it sinks, so you can easily on the bank on the go change from one location to the other. So if you have, for instance, really deep water on the other side and you need a fly that starts fish exactly as soon as it hits the water, then you could use the bigger one or the smaller one depending on all different situations. So this is a type fly that is basically intended to be the back part of the finished fly with these really heavy heads. And you can spice things up and swap things up as much as possible. We have designed this fly to be a fly that has all the right ingredients, all the things that we know salmon like the best, that provokes salmon the most. And if you add this head so the fly sinks so fast it's going to be right in the face of the salmon, then I mean these are highly popular in a lot of different salmon rivers throughout the northern part of Europe. They've not been used that much in Denmark yet, but I foresee that they will. I mean, these will make the salmon react in one way or another. And that could either be that basically the salmon just stands on the bottom and just is pressured down. It can also be that the salmon flees, but more often than not, this will trigger the response that the salmon will actually, grab the fly. It's designed to trigger the fight or flight response, and hopefully, a lot of the times it's going to be the fight response that this fly triggers. So, as I said, you can spice things up, different styles of head, different sizes, different colors, and as long as you have this fly in its own right, then you can do whatever you want. Now we're gonna tie the fly, the Homewrecker, because this wrecks the home of salmon. Var det fedt det der? So here goes. Now we're gonna tie the Homewrecker, which is a fly designed with the Kursk heads. So it's going to be Kursk heads Homewrecker. First of all, I'm going to take one of the tubes that is in the box here, and we're going to use the Pro Flexi needle in large. This is the best tube fly needle, but it can because there is a small. It's a bit. The diameter inside the tube here is a bit too big for this tube. Then you should take a bit care when you start this and basically just apply some pressure. That will narrow the inner diameter of the tube, and that will make the actual fly latch onto your tube fly needle. If you're having troubles with this, you can also basically just glue a 1.8 millimeter inner tube inside here with some Sabagap and stuff, and then you will have something that fits on the smallest of needles as well. But this works, so this is how we're gonna do it. This is a fairly inexpensive fly to tie. It doesn't require that many materials. It's not a fly that, you know, basically you should have like 1 million of in the box. But I would definitely recommend that you have some of these on every single trip, because this is one of the flies that can make or break a day. This is one of the flies that I would characterize as a game changer. So when you've fished, for instance, if you're fishing salmon in Norway or in Denmark, if you've fished a particular stretch of water, you know that there are fish there, then this is the way to go to actually kind of, you know, sweep up and vacuum that stretch of river. I wouldn't be the one who has to fish the same stretch of water after one of these flies has been used, because basically it is a Homewrecker. And by that I mean that this will make the fish either really just, you know, push down on the bottom, flee the pool, or eat the fly. So this is, the name is actually something to tell you that this will wreck the homes of the salmon. And depending on what mood the salmon you're fishing on are in, they can either fight or flight. You know, that it's meant to trigger that kind of response. So this is kind of the last resort, the last thing you should go through any given pool in Norway or any stretch of water that you wish to fish. If you only wish to fish there one time, then this can be a good option. But if you plan to fish, let's say, the same stretch of water multiple times, then you can of course start by using maybe a floating or an intermediate line, and then gradually progress up until this one. Because when you have bounced this off and you have moved this through the water, then the water will require some time to recuperate, and the fish will require some time, because, as I said, this will make them either fight or flee. And more often than not, it's really is just a highly successful pattern to get some otherwise pretty difficult fish to actually respond to your fly, instead of just being dormant, because it's right in their faces. It's right there. So next thing is some black boar bristle. I'm gonna take about 8 or 10 of these coarser hairs. What we want these to do is we want them to be kind of I tie some down on top here, and then I try to distribute these so they're gonna cover the top of the fly here, and they're gonna have the natural curve, so they will be sticking out into the water. So the natural curve should go like this, and these are so stiff. So one of the things I've thought given it a lot of thought, why these boar bristles are so really awesome for salmons, and sea trout. But I think the probably why they are so efficient and makes so great flies is that they're so stiff that they actually just stays out there in the water. They do not bend as much in the current, and that creates a lot of riffles, a lot of different effects on the fly, making the fly more appealing or more of a threat to the salmon or the sea trouts in the pool. And I can just say that these boar bristles, for some reason, they do not look very elegant. They do not look very elegant is probably the best word for it. They do not make elegant flies, but what they do make is flies that are just continuously just catching a lot of fish. So this is this is not an aesthetically pleasing fly, but this is a fly that is meant to get down, do all the dirty work, and just catch you a lot of fish, and this fly will do so. Now we have gotten all of the boar bristles in there. Then we need to apply some bling. So I'm going to take some crystal flash, and of course, I mean this is kind of like a prototype on how to make some of these Kursk flies. And you can of course spice things up and make it in exactly the color you want. The reason we have chosen black for this one is because the black color is, I mean, there's a lot of sayings about, and at a lot of different rivers, that is, you know, the color of the fly is one I've heard a lot. Doesn't mean anything as long as it's black. And that's basically the philosophy behind this. We're gonna use and tie this in black, in all black exclusively, because then we can basically spice up things with all the different colors of the actual heads, because these are interchangeable. So you can swap things and spike things up as much as you want. Once you have the finished fly with just with the heads. And that is basically what we're doing here. So I try to get all these flash again to be as distributed as much as possible all the way around the actual fly here. And some of these are quite long, so I'm gonna cut these down so they're not as long. They should be about the same length, maybe a bit shorter, maybe a bit longer than the actual boar bristle. There we go. And then the final touch here is to add some rubber legs. Again, have something that just bounces and just tickles the salmon right on the nose when this fly is right in their face, which is exactly how it's intended to fish. It's gonna go down really fast. It's gonna fish exactly on the tip of the exactly where the salmons are located, and then the rubber legs will will tickle them on their noses. If that makes sense. I hope it does. I don't know either why the rubber legs are so good, but it's just they just are. They also look, they're so lively in the water, so they basically just look really good. And flies with rubber legs just, again, has a tendency to just outperform a lot of other things. So we have tried to take some of the best single elements that we know from the salmon fishing, and then incorporate them into this fly that is going to be right in the face of the salmon. I tie these two rubber legs down so they are basically on the shoulders of the fly. We're going to do the same underneath. So I have two rubber legs. They're going to be right on top, but not but still sticking out on each side. And then we're going to do exactly the same here below, pulling the rubber leg in place. Basically, so the rubber legs has about a 90-degree angle in between all four of them, which adds up to 360 degrees. So the distance between them, or the angle between them, is gonna be quite evenly distributed. And if you just tie them down, you can basically fairly easily pull them into place, hold everything back, and then apply tying thread to make sure that your rubber legs, one of them are, yeah, that's better. You can just pull them into place as well. So we have the hackle, we have the flash, we have the boar bristle, and then we're gonna apply a small amount of dubbing to make for kind of a small body, a segment that's gonna be up until the second hackle, giving this fly a bit more length, a bit more bulk. You could also no, it's not something for you to skip, because this, when you've tied down all the boar bristle and stuff, you're gonna have a quite big bulge of tying thread, and that is not gonna look very good. So basically that is why we apply some dubbing here. It's also gonna make the fly, I mean, this is not by any, at least to my standards, a beautiful or a pretty fly. This is, as I said, a fly that is intended for a specific purpose and does that highly efficient. So it's not, this is not gonna win any beauty contests. It's not gonna win. It's not gonna. but I can assure you, flies like these just catch an insane amount of salmon. So it all depends if you wanna, catch as much salmon as you like, or as you want, or basically you wanna catch them on the right stuff. And from my point of view, I like to catch as many salmons as I can. So I use every single weapon available to me, and this is definitely one of the really strong weapons. It can even be fished upstream as well, because it fishes so it sinks so fast. I'm gonna take a slightly smaller feather for the second hackle here. Tying this down here, and then I'm gonna cut off the tip. Then I'm gonna turn the hackle, and make sure that you have as clean a space as possible in front of the final turn of the hackle here. Now here, what is important at the last part here is not to have a too big head of tying thread, because if you have that, you make this too big, then the tube will simply not fit into the actual head of the fly. So try to really apply a lot of pressure. Don't make the head too big. Make it as small as possible. Make some really clean cuts of the hackle. Then make your whip finish. Again, as small as possible. There we go. Cut away my tying thread, and then I'm gonna apply a small amount of glue. You can use vise as well, of course, just to make the fly stronger. There we go. And what you do is you pull the fly out of the vise, and then you cut the tube as close to the head as possible. There we go. And then this is basically the finished fly. This is how you're gonna have the fly in your box. And I mean, Stefan just told me this is actually quite a nice, smaller, wake fly for evenings for night fishing in the smaller streams as well. This will definitely get you some sea trout in its own right. But once you apply the heads, then that's where it really adds all the variations and stuff. So basically, you take how you mount these is you take your leader, and then you push it in the head. Here we're gonna use the orange one. We could have used any number of different ones. Then you take the fly out of the vise, the line through the actual fly, and then you can push this onto the tube here. There you go, and there you have it. And as you can see, now just basically attach the triple or the double or the single hook, and you will have this fly. And what this head does, it makes the fly bounce on the bottom, and it makes your hook point upwards. So even though the head sometimes occasionally strikes the bottom, then your hook is not going to snag as much, because it's going to have the head here pointing downwards. So you're going to get less snags, you're going to fish really down deep, and you can change these. Even from a stretch of water to stretch of water, you can change the size of the head. If you want to fish even deeper, you can take the bigger head or the smaller head, depending on the conditions. So there's just a lot of different applications from this one simple black fly. You have a lot of different colors options, a lot of different applications, and you can even fish it alone. So this is the introduction to the Kursk system, and this is how it's done. There we go, the finished fly, and again attached here with one of the heads. I mean, this is a fly that you don't need like 50 of in your fly box, but I would recommend that you carry at least a few of these, and then at least a few different heads, because then you can on any given day where the salmon is hard to reach with traditional or conventional means, this is the type of fly that can make or break your day. This is something completely different, completely out of the box, that the salmon probably will not have seen before. So if you're fishing highly pressured waters where the fish have seen just a million of the same flies, try using one of these, because it spices things up. and I guarantee you this can do big difference to carry some of these and to fish these occasionally. I wouldn't be the guy fishing after one of these, because these are very intense and they fish very intensely in the water. But if you have some water where things are difficult, try something new, try something completely different, and this is just that. This is a great way of fishing. It catches, and it has caught an insane amount of salmons. It's developed in Finland and it has been used in Norway and Sweden as well. And this basically just works really well. As I said, you don't need a million of these, but if I were you, I would carry at least some. I'm gonna do that from now on. So that was about it for now. You can of course get the full material kit and all the different sizes of Kursk kit at Nordic Anglers. So swing by to get your secret weapon for the salmons. There are many of those, but I actually do think that this is now the secret is out of course, but this can be a game changer on difficult days. So swing by Nordic Anglers to stock up on everything fly tying or fly fishing related. I'm Daniel. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to get these out on the water.